Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Captain Dorge's Armory. This is Captain Dorge, and we are going to take a look at a T30 battle. The T30 is a fun tank to play. I like the T30 quite a lot. It's an American Tier 9 tank destroyer. As you can see, it has a turret. We're all pretty familiar with what the T30 is by now, so we're not going to be in the garage too long, and then we'll get this sucker into battle. Now, I will say one thing about the T30. I like the tank a lot. It's fun to play. I enjoy driving it, and I drive it quite a bit. But it is a very frustrating tank to play, because when it got taken from a Tier 10 heavy and made into a Tier 9 tank destroyer, it got nerfed pretty hard. And I feel like, even though the T30 is still a very strong tank, some of its weaknesses just drive me up a wall. And the main one that bothers me is, honestly, it's the turret. And we'll briefly look at why. This turret is the same turret as on the T29 and on the T34 Tier 8 Premium Heavy. Now, the turret on the T29 is amazing. You go hull down with the T29 against Tier 7s and Tier 8s, and they have a very hard time penning you. Yeah, they can hit your hatch, but the hatch is small and it's rounded, so when you have guys shooting at you with 150 to 200 pen, they can have a pretty hard time penning that hatch. Yeah, they can shoot at your turret cheeks, but again, 150 to 200 pen, they're going to have a pretty hard time going through. Unless they're shooting at an angle like this, then they're basically shooting at your side, they'll pen like butter. Same thing goes for the T34, where you have this same turret. When you're fighting Tier 8s and Tier 7s, they can't really pen you very easily. When you're fighting Tier 9s, they can a lot more easily pen. But the T30, you fight almost exclusively Tier 9s and 10s. And while this turret is very, very good against guns with 150 to 200 pen, when you start facing guns with 230 to realistically 400 pen with Tier 10 premium shells, the turret is insufficient. And I say that because the main aspect of the T30 is that it has this turret and this gun depression, so that you can go hull down and bounce shells off your strong turret. But it's just not strong enough. I mean, first of all, you have a mantlet weakness. For God's sakes, the mantlet is the only friggin' armor on the turret front against Tier 10s. Realistically, the mantlet against Tier 10s is the only place where you can expect to bounce shots. And there's a friggin' weakness on it. That's complete bullcrap. Secondly, the cheeks are not that good. You can go through the cheeks with about 250 pen. And we're talking about Tier 9s and Tier 8s shooting at, or Tier 9s and Tier 10s rather, shooting at you. So, 246 pen, 257 pen, 267 pen. Those are pretty common penetration values for tanks like the T34, which is a Tier 8, 246 pen. What's this gun have on it? 276 pen. It's enough pen to just rape if it shoots you right there. Then you have the hatch, which is really good against 150 to 200 pen, but, if you get a T110 E5 shooting at you, he's going to go through that like a hot knife through butter. All he has to do is land a square hit and it pens. It's frustrating. Now, I don't think they should make the T30's turret frontally impenetrable, but I do wish they would make it a little better. And first of all, I would completely remove the mantlet weak point. It's completely gay that there's even a weak point on the mantlet. Like, the mantlet's the one spot that actually has armor. Do not put a giant weak point in it. Please, for the love of God. Secondly, I wish they would buff the cheeks so that they're not quite so easy to go through. Make them possible to go through, but with, like, a pretty good shot out of a powerful gun. And sort of something similar for the commander hatch. Let's make the commander hatch so that you need to land like a perfect hit on it, or at least a good hit on it. Not just so that you land a shell that hits right here somewhere and then just kind of haphazardly skips into the turret hatch and pens. That's dumb. For being like the main strength of the T30, the turret front just doesn't cut the mustard, if you ask me. Anyway, moving along. The next thing about the T30 that sort of frustrates me a little bit is the gun, but it's a frustration that I can deal with a lot more easily, because I think it's actually, in my opinion, correct what they've done. And when we look at the gun, we're going to compare it to the gun on the Object 704, because the gun on the T30 is actually, well, it's really good. But when you compare it to the gun on the 704, it's actually pretty bad. The BL-10 is infamous as being able to just, 5 meters away, fully aimed at the moon, and you miss. Or, you shoot a LOL tractor and you bounce. Or you shoot a 1390 with 1 health and you detrack him. The BL-10 is infamous for that sort of thing. And the T-30's gun is worse in pretty much every category. But I can live with that because the T-30's gun is also very powerful. So, and it's mounted on a pretty effective chassis. So it needs to have some good weaknesses to offset the strengths of the inherent vehicle strengths. So if we look at the T-30, you got 2.86 rounds per minute versus 3.51 on the Object 704. That is a huge difference. The Object fires almost an entire shot per minute extra. That's a big difference. T30 has 276 pen, which is plenty. That's enough. The BL-10's got 286. It's only 10 millimeters more, and it's largely extraneous, but it is more. You have the same alpha damage on all 3 types of shells, 750 on AP, APCR, and 950 on high explosive. And you have the same penetration on the high explosive, but again, the Object has slightly more pen on its premium shells with 329. But again, 329 versus 320 might as well be the same, that level of penetration is totally unnecessary. So I don't even really consider that an option. The accuracy and the aiming time of the 2 guns is actually the same, 3.9 with a 2.9 second aiming time. So in alpha damage and accuracy and aiming time, the T30 and the Object 704 are comparable, but the 704's got more pen and way higher rate of fire, so consequently also more damage per minute. So that it can be a little frustrating how slow the T30 fires. It can be a little frustrating how inaccurate the gun is. It says .39 on both of these guns, but I really don't think they're that accurate. Honestly, I feel like I shoot long-range shots with an IS-6 better than I do with a T30. And the IS-6 has .46 accuracy and 3.4 second aiming time. So, yeah. The T30's gun, very, 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 very prone to missing. Pretty prone to detracking, which is frustrating. And just some other things like that. It can be a real trial at times. But there are definitely strengths for this vehicle. Now let's start looking at the tank. 1650 health, pretty standard. 860 horsepower. Again, if you played the T29 and the T34, you're going to be familiar with the mobility of the T30 because the T30 weighs about the same as the other two and has slightly more horsepower. It's not a very fast tank, but it's also not that slow. 35 kilometer per hour top speed. That ain't great, but it ain't bad either. 22 degree traverse speed on the hull. That is not very good. But we do have a turret. But the turret only traverses at 18 degrees per second, so it's an incredibly slow turning turret mounted on top of an incredibly slow turning hull. So you combine that together and you get a pretty decently turning tank and gun. But, whatever. You do have a turret, so that's a huge advantage in and of itself. Now, if we look at the armor on the tank, this is the armor of a T29, basically. 102 on the front hull with the machine gun as a weak point, 76 on the side, 50 on the rear, and 279 on the turret front, 127 on the turret sides, and 102 on the turret rear. And we've talked intimately about turret weak points on this thing, so we know about that. We talked about the gun, blah, 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 we know about that. 380 meter view range, pretty decent, not amazing, but it's good enough. And 745 meter signal range, which is definitely enough. Crew skills on this tank, my first crew member's skills are camouflage across the board, except for the commander who has 6th Sense. And then I meant to put him on camouflage, but I have him on repair, so he's on repair. My radio operator is also doing repair. My second loader, or my first loader, is doing repair. My second loader, I had to pick up new with the T30, so he's only at 92% camouflage, but he will pick up safe stowage when he starts his training. My driver's number 2 skill is clutch braking to help with the turning speed. When he gets a number 3 skill, it is going to be off-road driving to help with the mobility, because even though the T30 is about as mobile as the T29, it really is fairly sluggish total. My gunner has armorer, because the gun on the T30, while it is not especially prone to being knocked out, if it does get knocked out, you're done. And the T110E4 is pretty prone to losing its gun, so I want this guy to have armorer, because the skill armorer, as you can see here, improves the accuracy of a damaged gun. So that's definitely nice. We want to do that. For equipment on this tank, I've not gone with the traditional tank destroyer setup because I don't think that is a very good idea on the T30. The T30 is incredibly reliant on its powerful gun, and its gun has some pretty terrible stats in terms of rate of fire and accuracy and aiming. So we've gone to really just buff the hell out of our gun on the T30. So we went with large caliber tank gun rammer, enhanced gun laying drive to cut down on that aiming speed, and improved ventilation. Improved ventilation will increase our gunner's accuracy, it'll increase our reload speed, it will reduce our aiming time, and it will also buff every other skill that this crew has ever. So my driver will drive a little better, my commander will see a little farther, my radio operator will die a little faster. I don't know, he's the red shirt. The radio operator's number 1 skill is dying in battle and making a regular crew member still be alive to keep fighting. Anyway, whatever. That's, improved ventilation. We all know about it by now. It's a great item that should basically go on almost every tank that can mount it. Now, we've looked at the T30 in the garage for long enough. We're going to take her into battle, and we are going to shoot people in the face with very, very large shells. Alrighty, guys, so we're in the T30. You can see that we're on Severagorsk. This map is fairly new still, and I'm not the best on Severagorsk, but this is actually a pretty good map for the T30. Now, we talked a lot in the garage about how the T30, one of its strongest attributes is its ability to go hull down, even though its turret doesn't always stand the test against lots of tier 9s and 10s. But Severagorsk is a great map for a hull down T30, and guess what? We're in a T30 and we're about to go hull down. Now, even with the potential for these guys to brutalize my turret, because there are a lot of tier 9s in this battle, and there's one very nasty M4043 on the enemy team, there's still plenty of opportunity for good hull down work. Now, I want to do a quick shout out to the enemy Tiger P driver, who I just mentioned in chat, Sancho Panzer. That is a hilarious name, in my humble opinion. Of course, a play on words from Don Quixote's Squire Sancho, what the hell's his name? Sancho Panza, I think. Anyway, I can't remember exactly what the guy's name is, which makes me a little bit of a derp, but Sancho Panzer is definitely a play on words of that, and I think it's pretty clever and pretty funny, so my hat's off to you, good sir. Now, time to battle. So, we've already made contact with the enemy, we got a Leopard prototype up above us, and that's a good news, bad news sort of situation. Good news is, we can smash that guy with our huge gun. Bad news, he can smash us right back. That's the exact sort of thing I'm talking about, the type of tank that can just wreck my tank, my turret. Leopard prototype with his 105mm gun is deadly. Now we're trying to get a hull down shot on this Pershing or on Sancho Panzer right here, but you can see the slope is just a little too steep and we're unable to make the shot happen. We're unable to depress our gun quite that far. Now we bounce a shell from Sancho's Tiger P, but with only, I think 203 penetration on the 88 L71, that's the kind of gun that we would expect to bounce almost every shot from with a T-34 frontal turret. Now, unfortunately for Mr. Sancho, we did not bounce our shot off him. We put a 660 damage side hit into his Tiger P, and have really done a lot of hurt to him. Now, I've moved into this position to try and get shots onto the Leopard prototype, but he's not completely retarded, so he's not giving me anything. We get a momentary glimpse at his turret, but with the aiming time and accuracy of this gun, I did not fire clutch, so no shot happened. Now, we've just gotten a little bit of a problem up here. There's now a T95 moving up. And I would like to add that my team is holding this entire half of the map with a Jagdtiger, a T20, and myself. So we are definitely outnumbered, but we have strong positioning with tanks that are good for this sort of a battle. Jagdtiger is excellent hull down with its very, very strong upper casement, and it's an incredibly powerful gun. And the T30 is also pretty damn good hull down as well. So there we can see the Leopard prototype very easily puts a shot through our commander's hatch, killing our commander even while we're moving. So that just kind of gives you an idea. It's not really that hard to do. And I would like to note that the Leopard prototype does not really actually have that accurate of a gun. And the aiming time on it is quite long. So I feel like that is actually a significant point worth mentioning. And, just, he had no problem just blasting my commander hatch. But in fairness, he does have 246 pen, so yeah, definitely helps. So, we are looking over the ridge again, looking for shots at the Leopard prototype, and he comes around the corner way too much, and we smash him. Unfortunately, the enemy M4043 is waiting for us, and he lands a shell near me and does 422 damage. So that sucketh. Unfortunately for me, my slow reload prevents me from firing at the Leopard prototype, but I just spotted an opportunity to blast the enemy T30, and that is an opportunity that's just too good to resist. So we put a side hit into the T30, dealing 749 damage. Now the enemy the enemy T95 has come into the open, which is an interesting move by him. And luckily for me, he only had the 120mm gun. So I trade blows with a T95. In retrospect, that was really dumb. But it turns out well for me, as I penned his weak spot, doing 838 damage, and he hits back for 378. So I did more than double his damage to me. Now we're attempting to get a kill shot on this Leopard prototype, but he's just not showing enough of his tank. And with the accuracy of the T30's gun being what it is, I decided to hold my fire and wait for a better opportunity. It doesn't look like an opportunity is going to present itself anytime soon, though. But with the T30, patience is a virtue. Patience either for a better shot or just a better target. So the enemy T95 just polished off a T32. I would like to get rid of this T95 ASAP, but I can't really do that with the Leopard prototype right there. But it looks to me like our Jagdpanther is pushing, or our Jagdtiger is pushing against his opposition. And it looks like the Leopard prototype might make a move. We're just watching him. We're watching him. We know that Leopard prototype wants to make a move. We know that that T95 is trying to make a move. T95s are so slow, they're constantly trying to make a move. It just takes 20 minutes for it to actually happen. So, again, patience is a virtue. We're pinging the T95 for artillery to try and kill him. Just, doing what we can. We don't want to move too early and risk death, but we also don't want to sit around idly and not do anything. And that was my phone. So, apparently I just got some sort of an alert. Looks like the Leopard prototype may be giving us a chance to shoot him, but I can't really tell. He bounces his shot off of me. The T95 is making an obvious move, so we crest and fire into his top, finishing him off, taking out the last 16 whole health that he had, and we pull back to reload. With the reload time on the T30 being as long as it is, pulling back to reload is definitely advisable. So the Leopard prototype obligingly waits for me to reload before attempting to make his own move. And as he tries to run, we gun him down, securing our second kill and taking out a very dangerous enemy. Now it's time for me to go help this Yag Tiger. I'm honestly a little surprised why this Yag Tiger hasn't breached already, considering he's been fighting a Tier 7 Heavy and a Tier 8 Medium in frontal combat with a Yag Tiger for about 6 minutes. So I feel like he doesn't really have any excuse, but he is not pushing. So we're going to put some fire up the butt of that Pershing and knock him out. And now our Yag Tiger is clear. So you can see on the center of the map, our E50 and our Pershing are breaching down the river and pushing into the enemy artillery. You can see our M103 is going to square off against the enemy M103. And I myself am on top of the ridge looking for shots. I'm on pretty low health, and with the tanks the enemy team has left, I don't really feel like exposing myself too much. I don't want to walk into a sudden instant death syndrome from that Object 704, especially since Berserkers are a good clan. So I trust that that 704 driver knows what he's doing. Our Yag Tiger is pissing and moaning that he never gets to do anything on Severagorsk, and I may have even said something to him. I honestly don't remember. I obviously said something to him since he's replying back to me, but basically my opinion of that Yag Tiger is that he's an idiot. So we're obviously typing in chat to him. We sight the enemy T25/2 and shoot him in the side. Yag Tiger driver continuing to inform me that I'm a retard because he has a turret, or because I have a turret and he doesn't. But anyway, the fact remains that Yag Tiger driver was unable to push against a Pershing and a Tiger 1. So I'm fairly certain that he's just an idiot. Also, he's a 47% player who is orange and only has 3k battles and 982 efficiency. So we are going to be a bit of a stat whore here and tell me that he has no idea what he's talking about. The chat war continues to rage as I continue to sit in my spot and look for the enemy 704. And there he is. He's giving us a side shot, and we can one-shot him, and we do one-shot him, securing our 5th kill and getting a lot of damage done. Now let's take a look at some post-battle results, and we will not discuss why I think a Yag Tiger is actually better haul down than a T30, even though my garage portion basically covered all the reasons why I think that. So, post-battle results, go! Alrighty, so here we have our post-battle results. You can see this was from the 5 times experience event that we had on the NA server just a short while ago. So with that being my first win of the day, I managed to get 10,065 experience, which is pretty good. I also managed to pull in 102,134 credits, which is pretty nice as well, and a sniper medal. So T30 not being the most accurate tank out there, and with the long-range shots I was taking at the end of the game, yeah, I'll grab the sniper medal, no problem. I like that. You can see the litany of destruction here, pretty impressive. Not the most impressive. I mean, but you know, what do you know? It's a T30. So let's take a look at our damage screen here, and managed to come in top on the team and in the match with 56-58 damage and 5 kills, which is a lot. This E50, man, he played a massive game too. 41-55 damage from the E50, 4 kills. Amazing right there. Here's Mr. Yag Tiger, 763 damage in a Yag Tiger. He fought a friggin' Tier 8 medium and a Tier 7 heavy in frontal friggin' Yag Tiger combat while hull down. No excuses. That guy sucked. Anyway, enough targeting that guy. Back to the results at hand. You can see 32-42 or 13-42 unmodified experience, which is pretty good. It's unfortunate for these Object 704s. They were about the only guys on their team that had any decent sort of result, but they lost, sadly enough for them. It was definitely a big game for me and the E50. That was pretty awesome. Our Pershing didn't have a terrible game either. You can see he's platooned up with the E50. And, yeah, so not too bad at all. Nobody else on our team really did really that well. The Artie didn't do bad. This guy didn't do bad. This guy didn't do bad, you know, but they also didn't do good either. But hey, we won the game. We held pretty much the entire map and killed everybody. So props to my team for good teamwork and good work and killing everything and winning. So yeah. You can see from our post-battle results, we got a 70,991 credit profit, which is sweet. On a standard account, that would have been a 37,000 credit profit, so hats off to that premium. Love it. You can see undoubled, we would have gotten 2013 exp, which is pretty nice, as well as 500 free exp, which was also pretty nice. We fired 10 shots, all 10 hit, all 10 penetrated, giving us 58 damage, which is pretty good. We received 7 hits that battle, and since we were basically hull down the entire match, we managed 5 non-penetrating hits, which is pretty good. A couple of those hits, though, were from the Tiger P, which doesn't really have the pen to get through our turret, and we did get a couple of bounces from the Leopard prototype, but the 2 penetrating hits, one of those was from the Leopard prototype just nuking our turret, and the other one was from the T95. When I gave him my hull, he obligingly shot it, so we'd never expect to bounce a T95 off our hull. And obviously we took a huge splash from the 40-43. So even though in that battle we did deflect quite a few shots off our turret, I just still think the T30's turret doesn't really cut the mustard most of the time. Severagorsk is one of the few maps where I've found that I can actually just hull down with my T30 and destroy people. And because there's a lot of positions on Severagorsk where you can do it, and quite a few of them are already safe. Or, at the very least, you can shift around between 2 or 3 little positions in the same bigger position and make it a lot harder for artillery to actually hit you. Like what happened with me in this match with the 40-43. He knew I was in that overall position, and he got a splash on me, but he never really did anything. He did 400 damage, which is pretty good, but if that 40-43 had hit me, I would have been dead. And in a lot of maps where you can get like a really strong hull down position, you're also pretty vulnerable to artillery. So, it's like, hey, stay hull down and deflect most of the shots at you from the enemy tanks, or don't stay hull down and you won't get lanced through the face by artillery. So it's kind of a 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But on Severagorsk it works really well. And you can see the good effect of the hull down in that battle right there. It allowed us to take not that many hits, but we shrugged off every hit on our turret but one, and that's a pretty good performance out of the T30. So it was definitely a fun game. We did a lot of damage. We had a lot of fun. We got a lot of kills. We did have a kind of a stupid Jagdtiger talking to me about that tank, and I disagree with almost everything he said. I think the Jagdtiger is an amazing Tier 9 tank destroyer. I think the Jagdtiger can haul down almost as well as the T30, and in some situations, like the situation he was in, he actually hauls down a hell of a lot better than I do. So, it is what it is, but this was a really fun game in the T30, and I know I got a little petty with my picking on that Jagdtiger driver, but it's what I do. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoyed it. I've been having a lot of fun in the T30 in spite of some of its weaknesses. It's a really fun tank, it's really fun to drive, and I enjoy smashing guys in the face with that big old 155mm gun. So I hope you enjoyed this battle too. And until next time, guys, just remember that you can never have enough big guns.